Here's the thing, though. Peter's always been a girlfriend guy. All his dude friends just fell by the wayside. Why is it weird that I had girlfriends?
Nothing. We're just saying you never really had a best friend is all.
Well, who's your best friend?
Your brother, Robbie.
What's up?
He's about the coolest guy I know.
Paul Rudd is in search of a bromance. I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment.
And I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies. Our first movie is I Love You Man, from writer-director John Hamburg, starring Paul Rudd. It opens March 20th. This is an early review. Rudd plays Pete, a real estate agent with a great fiancée, Rashida Jones from TV's The Office, but no close male friends.
So what do I do? How do I meet friends? If you see a cool-looking guy, strike up a conversation and ask him on a man date, okay? You know what I mean? No. Casual lunch or after-work drinks. You're not taking these boys to see The Devil Wears Prada. Oh, God, I love that movie.
Pete's looking for somebody to be his best man. After a few set-up man dates, he meets Sidney, Jason Segel from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, at an open house. And when it comes to guy talk, well, Pete's incompetence is wonderfully uncomfortable.
Sweet, sweet hanging.
That scene's really indicative of what makes Paul Rudd such an effective comic actor. He's a master underseller. Segel, meanwhile, never allows Sidney to become a caricature. Yeah, he's crass and he's sloppy, but he's also smart, lonely, and a little sad. The dichotomy makes his comedy work.
Hey, geek! I just stepped in your dog's crap!
Rudd and Segel excel with a smart script, and Rashida Jones is very funny and authentic. I think she's a likely rival for the types of roles going to Elizabeth Banks. Among the most satisfying cinematic achievements of the last decade is the resurgence of the adult comedy. Funny movies written for smart grown-ups. And I Love You Man is the latest to seek this eager audience. I think it nails it. I say see it.
It reminded me a lot of the first time I saw Borat and Superbad, in that I left the theater just feeling exhausted from laughing so much.
Yeah.
This is a film that right out of the gate brings you into the humor, and it doesn't stop throughout the entire movie. It's not just a couple of lines and a few gross out scenes, but you know what? It's smart. As you said, it's inventive, and it doesn't compromise its characters. These aren't one-dimensional people like we often see in romantic comedies. These are well thought out, well-rounded characters, some great supporting performances, in addition to Jason Segel and Paul Rudd, and overall a really sweet and tender movie with a heart and extremely funny.
You mentioned those supporting roles. Jon Favreau has really emerged. We know he can direct a film, but he's really emerged in these comedies and sort of in small bits, interjecting a lot of quick humor into it.
His relationship with Jamie Presley in this movie is incredible. It's really a nice compliment to the more conventional relationship between Rashida and Paul Rudd.
She's terrific, too. Jamie Presley. J.K. Simmons is the father, plays pretty much the same character he did in Juno.
How about Lou Ferrigno? Lou Ferrigno being very self-deprecating and having a lot of fun with his sort of cult celebrity, if you will, and it was a good sport, I thought.
I want to mention Andy Samberg, too, from Saturday Night Live, who plays Paul Rudd's gay brother, busting sort of every gay stereotype. He's also funny, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, I really think this is Paul Rudd's movie. He leads the way here, and I really think he's emerging as one of the top leading comic actors in the country.
And, you know, the director, John Hamburg, his style of humor is really based in secondhand embarrassment. You, the audience, feel a little embarrassed for the actions on screen. You saw it when he wrote Meet the Parents, and here again in I Love You Man. You got to see it. Next movie, Elle Fanning, Dakota's younger and equally talented sister, plays the title character in Phoebe in Wonderland. It's a heartbreaking story of a young girl who clashes so intensely with the conventions and stifling rules of the real world that she seeks a means to escape with the power of her imagination. Phoebe suffers from OCD, in a form of Tourette's syndrome that causes her to spontaneously shout things out against her own impulses. It deeply affects her family, especially her mother, played by Felicity Huffman, who shares her obsession with the world of Alice in Wonderland. It seems the only time Phoebe is truly at peace is when she's in drama class rehearsing for the school play.
There's no teacher here. We can't do it without her. No. From the first rehearsal, that's what she wanted. To do it on our own. Who's gonna tell us what to do? We tell ourselves.
The heart of the film lies in the relationship between Fanning and her unconventional drama teacher, brilliantly played by Patricia Clarkson. Their connection is genuine and deep.
At a certain point in your life, probably when too much of it has gone by, you will open your eyes and see yourself for who you are, especially for everything that made you so different from all the awful normals.
I thought this was a delightful movie. A little depressing at times, but with 3 stellar performances from Fanning, Huffman, and Patricia Clarkson. Writer-director Daniel Barnes has delivered a beautiful movie that I think you should see.
Yeah, Ben, I largely disagree with you. I think there are some moments of high drama, and I think Elle Fanning does a good job, and I think in particular Felicity Huffman reminds us that forget her work on Desperate Housewives, which is fine, but she's capable of being a really top-notch actress. That said, those moments of drama, of which there were some, I felt completely removed from them when we went into Phoebe's fantasy world, where she starts to see people from her real life as characters from Alice in Wonderland. That felt inauthentic. That felt totally false for me. Took me right out of the movie every time it happened, and it happened a lot.
See, I appreciated this sort of an inventive approach to storytelling and breaking convention and showing her a power of imagination and how it sort of uplifts her and gets her out of this really dark place that she's in, because those scenes with Huffman and her daughter, Elle Fanning here, are really moving and really tough to watch, and it's balanced nicely with some wonderful moments where Phoebe is really exploring who she is as a young girl, and Patricia Clarkson is able to bring that out of her.
Ben, I'm all for the power of imagination. I need the power of imagination to be done effectively, and I just didn't think it was here. It took away from the drama. It came close. There were some good moments in it, but ultimately I'm going to have to say skip it.
Sorry to feel that way. Coming up next, the most anticipated movie so far this year. We'll review Watchmen.
I love working on American soil, Dan.
The world will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."
Last week we gave you an early review of Zack Snyder's adaptation of one of the most important graphic novels in American literature, Watchmen. Snyder mostly adheres to Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' intricate, layered book. He maintains the novel's unique visual look and tone. It's 1985. Think of it sort of as a parallel America. Not the world we live in, but not so terribly different either. Richard Nixon is in his 5th term as president. The U.S. and Soviet Union are on the brink of nuclear holocaust. And until Nixon outlawed them in 1977, a loose-knit group of caped Avengers, the Watchmen, protect civilized society. But unlike Spider-Man and Superman, these heroes are mortal and very flawed.
Rorschach thinks someone's hunting the Watchmen, huh?
You think it's possible?
I think statistically, one murder doesn't equal a trend. Rorschach's a sociopath, Dan. I mean, so is the comedian. He was practically a Nazi. You know that better than anyone.
You know, it's not really even enough to call them flawed. They are staggeringly antisocial, drunks, xenophobes, narcissists, murderers even. They represent the best and worst of ourselves. That's really what I took away from the novel. I'll concede the point is not made quite as effectively on film, where the book's philosophical intensity at times felt a bit hacky.
How long till we keep this up?
Congress is pushing through some new bill that's going to outlaw masks. Our days are numbered. Till then, it's like you always say. Our society's only protection.
From what?
You kidding me? From themselves.
There were times in the back half of the movie, speeches like that, the Night Owl's ship, where Snyder's movies started feeling a little too cartoonish. And though I worry viewers who haven't read the book might be lost, I still think it's fairly heady entertainment. It's a cerebral, nuanced, big-budget affair, and in the end, I liked it. I think it's worth seeing.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too, Ben, and I am familiar with the graphic novel. I had read it a few years back and revisited it recently preparing for this film, and I agree with you. I think if you're not familiar with the characters and the whole tone and style of Watchmen going into it, you might be lost. It's not like Spider-Man and Superman, which you mentioned, where if you haven't read the comics, you still know about Peter Parker and you know about Clark Kent, because they are such figures in pop culture. Here, this is so cult that you have to sort of be familiar with it to enjoy it, and I think it's going to hurt it in the weeks to come at the box office.
Yeah, I always like to, you know, read source material, especially when it's something important like this ahead of time. I don't always do it, but here I actually wish I had, however that ship has sailed.
Snyder does such a great job of staying true to the graphic novel, which is really important for these kinds of films, because there are so many people out there who have read the novel numerous times and hold the characters so near and dear to them, and he really respects that as a filmmaker, because he himself is a fan, and I think that shines through in the movie. A couple standout performances, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Jackie Earle Haley, and a couple others that really didn't do it for me, like Malin Ackerman.
I really thought Patrick Wilson was the big star here. I know you didn't like him as much, but I loved his sort of understated understated, reluctant superhero.
Look, it's going to make a lot of money this weekend. I'll probably end up seeing it again just as a fan of film. It's fun to go see these movies opening weekend, but will it hold throughout the months to come in the weeks in March? I don't think so. I think it's going to fall off at the box office.
All right, coming up next, Colin Hanks, John Malkovich, and Tom Hanks try to make magic in The Great Buck Howard.
Oh my God!
Isn't that wild?
You've got to quit this job. You can do better. It is over for Buck, and everyone knows it but him.
What are you going to do now, kid?
I might fail miserably, but I have to at least try.
Good luck.
Our next movie stars John Malkovich as the Great Buck Howard, a mentalist, not a magician, who's appeared on the Carson-era Tonight Show 61 times. He carries himself like a high-maintenance, A-list Hollywood star, a lot like Mank. Problem is, he's not. A lot like Mank. He never really was. He continues to perform and promote his tired and dated act at small, half-empty venues across the country.
Sir, may I look in your right shoe, please? Well, I thought it would be more.
How did he do that?
I love this town.
Colin Hanks plays Troy Gable, who's at a crossroads in his life after realizing that law school isn't really making him happy. So he drops out, much to his father's disappointment. Troy's dad is played by, well, Colin Hanks' real-life dad, Tom Hanks, who doesn't quite agree with his son's decision to work for the aging entertainer.
I would have killed to go to law school, Troy. I would have killed.
I hated it. I wasn't happy.
You think I danced out the front door every morning in my adult life happy about where I was going to be spending my day? I don't know what you're doing here.
Add to the mix the delightful Emily Blunt as Buck's disinterested junior publicist, and what's left is a sweet, tender, slightly satirical slice of the showbiz life. And the not-so-subtle, annoying character quirks that Malkovich brings to his character become endearing by the film's end. You can skip Buck Howard's stage show, but be sure to see The Great Buck Howard. It's available on demand right now, and it's getting a limited theatrical release on March 20th.
Oh, you're crazy. If Buck Howard were real and you could see his stage show, everybody should go see it. It's largely based on the amazing Kreskin, who did much the same kind of mentalist routines. And interestingly, the writer-director of this film, Sean McGinley, was the amazing Kreskin's road manager for a number of years. That's the Colin Hanks role in here. So obviously he's taking from experience. I really enjoyed this film. I thought you mentioned Malkovich. He was so terrific in it, so over the top, yet simultaneously understated, if that makes any sense. And he's got a handshake in the movie. He reaches out, he shakes everybody's hands in incredibly pronounced fashion. It's funny every single time.
I just love seeing a buddy film between two guys who you would never pair together, this aging entertainer and this young guy at a crossroads in his life. And I think the character of Buck Howard is one of those memorable showbiz guys. It reminded me a lot of Billy Crystal and Mr. Saturday Night. And it's so great to see Malkovich do comedic work, recently in Burn After Reading and a few years back in Being John Malkovich, so self-deprecating in that.
I also agree with you on Emily Blunt. I think she's terrific in this, and any movie with Ricky Jay is a good movie. So I say see The Great Buck Howard. The Italian mob film Gomorrah is next, and it's a film where your patience will ultimately be rewarded, though you may feel some frustration along the way. Matteo Garrone adapts from Roberto Saviano's book, a piece of journalism so explosive the author can't stay more than a few nights in the same location lest the Gomorrah crime syndicate he exposed locates him and executes him. And we quickly learn Gomorrah does not shy from brutal violence. This film weaves together 5 essentially unrelated stories, among them 2 foolish teens who steal guns from the Gomorrah to prove they're worthy of their idol. Tony Montana from Scarface, a movie they repeatedly quote. But despite the Hollywood reference, this is not The Godfather or The Sopranos. There are no shootouts, no strip clubs. This is the dark, unglamorous underbelly of the mob. The message sent? In Naples, the Gomorrah, with 4,000 murders accredited to it in 30 years, is everywhere. They're in high fashion, they're in illegal immigration, in money lending, in toxic waste disposal. You can't escape the Gomorrah, and with patience, at the end of the film, that point will be depressingly and effectively clear. I think you should see it.
Mank, how many times over the years have we seen images of the mafia romanticized, especially the Italian mob with the $1,000 suits and the girlfriends and the Rolls Royces? This is not that movie. This is gritty, it's raw, it's incredibly realistic, and it's terrifying and stylized. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciated the layered element to it. You talk about being patient. There were times when I thought to myself, gee, I would have loved to have seen just the two teens and their rise, but you know what? The film adds so much more by having this diverse cast of characters, all of which are sort of encompassed in the Gomorrah. You can't escape it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you really hit an epiphany about halfway through, maybe even a little more than halfway through, where you're like, what is going on? Who is that guy? And then all of a sudden, you get it. And it is an incredibly rewarding experience, again, if you're patient, if you see it through. And to know that this is adapted from a real piece of journalism, Roberto Saviano's incredibly well-researched, detailed book, and this guy's living and hiding because these guys might come and get him, I think really adds to the tension and the drama.
Absolutely. It makes it really effective to know that this exists in Italy. It's a side of the country we never see, this urban underbelly, and it's terrifying to see these young people so close to violence and drugs and guns, and boy, I really enjoyed it. Absolutely see Gomorrah.
All right, coming up next, a movie that made my top 10 list of 2008 on our DVD Out Now list.
You will die laughing.
Well, if you're gonna go, that's the best way to go, I suppose.
Have you ever had a driving lesson before?
Yeah. No, wasn't really a lesson.
Time now to look at DVDs out now. My pick this week, Happy Go Lucky. If you don't know the work of six-time Oscar-nominated writer-director Mike Leigh, you're missing out. Leigh works backwards, essentially. No script. He has a basic idea, and then he lets his actors develop the characters through improv. It works exceptionally well in Happy Go Lucky, where the enormously talented Sally Hawkins plays Poppy, an unstoppably optimistic spirit who never met a soul she didn't like. She'd have told Stalin his mustache makes him look cuddly. At 30, she finally learns to drive under the tutelage of Scott, a grumpy, surly, bitter instructor played really effectively by Eddie Marzan. One of the Academy Awards' big snubs this year was bypassing Sally Hawkins for Best Actress, but my guess is they'll get another chance. In the meantime, go get Happy Go Lucky on DVD.
In an election year, Hollywood gave us no shortage of American politically charged movies like Milk, Frost Nixon, W, and Battle in Seattle, which is my pick this week. Actor and first-time writer, director, and the film's distributor, Stuart Townsend's piece of historical fiction centers around the riots that ensued during the World Trade Organization protests in Seattle, Washington back in 1999. The ensemble cast, featuring Charlize Theron, Ray Liotta, and Michelle Rodriguez, shines a light on this important event in our country's history.
So both Battle in Seattle and Happy Go Lucky will be in stores Tuesday.
And available right now, 3 movies reviewed on earlier shows. Drew Barrymore and George Lopez voice Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Australia with Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman. And Lake City with Sissy Spacek and Dave Matthews.
Want to know what you can't miss this weekend? Well, stay tuned for my 3 to see.
Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience. Located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
All right, time to recap the movies on this week's show. We both say you should see I Love You Man. It opens in 2 weeks. I say see Phoebe in Wonderland. Ben says skip it. We both say see Watchmen. We agree you should see The Great Buck Howard. And we both say see Gomorrah.
My 3 to see this week starts with He's Just Not That Into You. Yeah, that's right. I expected to hate this movie, but it was smarter and funnier than I anticipated. And Jennifer Aniston really stretches in one scene that reminds you she's capable of being a pretty darn good actress. Coming in at number 2, check out Harrison Ford's Crossing Over, a rare movie willing to question the accepted political dogma on immigration. It's very much like 2005 Best Picture Oscar winner Crash, only it's good. And at number 1, a film we haven't reviewed on the show. It's writer-director Nikita Mikhalkov's 12. It's a Russian remake of Sidney Lumet's 12 Angry Men, one of the best courtroom movies of all time. It's largely the same story. Here, a Chechen teen is accused of murdering a retired Russian officer. This is much more than a typical remake because Mikhalkov creates a uniquely Russian story. It's rich in corruption and government ineptitude. And unlike Lumet, he takes it outside the confines of the jury room to help us better understand the accused's compelling story.
That's it for now. Remember, we're always online on atthemoviestv.com.
And we're going to leave you with a look at releases coming soon. And until next week, as always, we'll be at the movies.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
He took all that stuff away and he made it better.
The girls have gone into their own business.
The rhinovirus, a leading cause of the common cold. Why just cover up the symptoms of your cold when you can get over your cold faster with Zicam?
Activon Ultra Strength for powerful pain relief. A convenient applicator means no messy creams. Activon, applied directly where it hurts for joint pain, muscle pain, arthritis, and backache.
Your pets need year-round protection, plus medications for cold weather joint pain. Fortunately, they cost a lot less at 1-800-PET-MEDS. Call now or order online.
The rhinovirus, a leading cause of the common cold. Why just cover up the symptoms of your cold when you can get over your cold faster with Zicam?